I'd just like to draw your attention to the ways in which women are represented in the novel Slaughterhouse 5 by Kurt Vonnegut. I believe that women are, at least partly, marginalized in this text. That means they're moved to the side. Women are not central in the novel. And maybe the novel could be criticized for that. The women that are in this book are often represented in negative ways. And if we say that some of the minor characters are representative of all women, then we probably see the portrayal of women in the novel as being largely negative. The first one that springs to mind is Billy Pilgrim's wife, Valencia. She is overweight, she's constantly eating, she says silly things, she has a very undignified death. So while she's not seen as evil or malicious or dark in any way, she's not really portrayed in a favourable light. And she is one of the minor characters who does have something of a part to play throughout the text. One of the worst things about Valencia is that she is really shallow and silly, and the book suggests that this is kind of a characteristic of many females. What I mean is, on Billy's honeymoon night, when he's spending time with Valencia, she questions him about the war and seems excited by it and sees it as a big secret and very interesting and exciting. And the book makes fun of this and looks down on this attitude that Valencia has. I'd like to read you a bit of the book to support this. Valencia questioned her funny-looking husband about war. It was a simple-minded thing for a female earthling to do, to associate sex and glamour with war. So, according to this quote, it's kind of common for female earthlings to, in a silly, simple-minded way, associate war with excitement and romance and all of those things. So a rather negative and is it almost misogynistic view of woman there, arguably misogynistic view of woman, that they're so silly seeing war as being exciting when it's not. Men perhaps know better, I don't know, but according to the book. Billy's daughter Barbara is almost even worse. She's mean, nasty, cold-hearted. She is described early in the book as being, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this on the internet, a bitchy flibbity-gibbet. Now, obviously a sexist comment, and that's the narrator, seemingly speaking. A flibbity-gibbet is a silly, empty-headed woman. It's not used for men, so it's kind of a sexist epithet. Barbara is awful, bossing her father around and telling him off. There's a quote here. It was very exciting for her, that's Barbara, taking his dignity away in the name of love. So if Barbara is representative of females in any way, it suggests that women take away men's dignity. They say they do it for love, but really it's just a thrill for them. Now, of course, the book doesn't directly claim in this case that Barbara is responsible for, or is representative of all women, but there aren't that many female characters, and she's one of the main ones, and she's represented in that way. Of course, there's Montana Wildhack, who is perhaps, if you look at the surface, she's presented in a positive way, but only in a positive way if you're looking through sexist sort of goggles, really. She's a male fantasy. She doesn't say anything intelligent or deep. She's just there to be wonderful for Billy in lots of ways and to have his children. That's what it seems like in the novel. So, Valencia, Barbara, Montana Wildhack, three of the minor characters who have something of a role to play in the book, and they are depicted as, being either shallow or negative or one-dimensional, silly, all of those things. If we look at them, the representation of women in this text is largely negative, could be criticised, could be critiqued for that. On the other hand, there's one other woman who does play a big part in the novel and who maybe is represented far more favourably, and that's Mary O'Hare, who is a minor character but plays a central role in chapter 1. When Kurt Vonnegut, or the narrator of the novel, claims that he's visited Bernard O'Hare to find out, what he can remember about the war 20 years earlier. The person who brings common sense and honesty and decency into that situation is Mary O'Hare, Bernard O'Hare's wife. She's angry that the narrator is there. She thinks that the narrator is going to go away and write a book that glorifies war. And she has the integrity and decency and the honesty and the courage to confront them. She says, "You were just babies in the war, like the ones upstairs." She's speaking with wisdom here. She's telling the narrator and her husband, look, there was nothing to celebrate about the war. You were totally out of your depth and helpless. You were babies just like the children upstairs. That's a powerful simile there. The narrator says, "Oh, I don't know." And she says, "Well, I know. You'll pretend you were men instead of babies, and you'll be played in the movies by Frank Sinatra and John Wayne or some of those other glamorous, war-loving, dirty old men. And war will look just wonderful, so we'll have a lot more of them. And they'll be fought by babies just like the babies upstairs." So then I understood. It was a war that made her so angry. She didn't want her babies or anyone else's babies killed in wars, and she thought wars were partly encouraged by books and movies. So I held up my right hand and I made her a promise. "Mary," I said, "I don't think this book of mine is ever going to be finished. I must have written 5,000 pages by now and thrown them all away. If I ever do finish it, though, I give you my word of honour, there won't be a part for Frank Sinatra or John Wayne. I tell you what," I said, "I'll call it The Children's Crusade." She was my friend after that. The title of the book is Slaughterhouse 5, or The Children's Crusade. And here I'm arguing with myself, with what I said earlier, because I think here a woman is given an absolutely key part in the text. She lays out the thesis statement of the novel, that it's, that war is not glorious, that it's not wonderful, that it's not glamorous. And she's the first one to articulate it, and maybe the only one to articulate it that clearly and with such wisdom and honesty and passion. And her point that she makes gives the title to the book. So perhaps there is at least one woman who's given a prominent role in this book, who is shown as knowing better than the dirty, war-loving old men. And in that regard, perhaps the novel can be seen as representing at least one woman, and maybe through synecdoche, other women she represents, that speak the truth, that speak wisdom, that perhaps sometimes men don't see.